Greetings, people of the internet and people from all walks of life. This is going to be a quick tutorial video on how to import a custom melee weapon model into the game Madness Project Nexus. Now, there's a few things you're going to need before we get started. Number one, you are going to need Unity installed. And of course, you're going to need Madness Project Nexus installed on your computer. This will only work with a legal copy of the game. So if you are a pirate, this will not work for you, as the version of the game you are likely running does not support this. But if you do have a pirated copy of the game that does support it, I suppose this tutorial still applies to you as much as it does to anybody else. But that is besides the point. You will need a copy of Madness Project Nexus. Now, at the time of recording this, the Unity project that I'm about to use and the version of Project Nexus that I'm about to use are not yet available to the public. So you might be thinking to yourself, what the heck's the point of this tutorial then if I can't do anything? Well, this video is not going to be uploaded until these tools are available to the public. So I guess it doesn't matter that I just bought that up, but just for clarity's sake, I am using a Unity project that is not yet public and a version of Project Nexus that is also not yet public. But anyway, we are going to be porting in a custom weapon model. So here you can see that I have quite the elaborate Unity setup here, but this is the Unity project that you will be using. So yes, you will need to download and install Unity, the game engine, on your computer. Now that might seem a little intimidating, but we're not making a game here. We're just porting in a weapon model. Now, once you've downloaded and installed Unity, you'll probably have installed the Unity Hub as well. Let me open up the Unity Hub here. So in the Unity Hub, you'll probably see nothing down here, but you would want to click on this little arrow here and hit Add Project from Disk. You should have downloaded this Unity project probably from a Google Drive link. So when you would click on this button, you would just specify that particular Unity project, which in my case it's called mpn underscore mod tools. Then you would simply click on that and wait for it to open. And once it's opened, you should probably see honestly nothing. There should be a white void. As you can see, I have ported in many a custom model. But in this case, for demonstration purposes, we are going to click on the Assets tab. Now, my Assets tab is filled with tons of textures and models. That is because I've been porting many of them. Just a couple days ago, I ported in 20 different models, which are the ones that you see here, although not all of them are present. But what we want to do is go to your custom model. You will be needing one, obviously. It could be any model, really. I mean, it doesn't even necessarily need to be a weapon. It just needs to be a 3D model. It can be in .object, in .fbx. I've even gotten it to work with .dae files. So there's a lot of versatility here. There's a lot you can work with. But for our purposes, I have downloaded this magic wand from Mario Party 7, and we're going to put it into Project Nexus. So let's do it. So we're just going to drag and drop that directly into our Unity project here. Now I'm going to need to look for it, but because it's called magic wand, shouldn't be terribly hard to find. Let's see here. There it is. There's our magic wand. So we've got our model. Let's bring it down here a little bit. Let's drag it into here. So as we can see, this model is freaking massive. We don't want that. So we're going to rescale the model here. I'm going to change to 0.050. Or not 50. 55. See what that looks like. Apply. Okay, now it's way too tiny. So we're going to change it to 0.095. See what that looks like. A little bit better. We'll change it to 0.15. See if that looks better. a lot of what you'll be doing here is honestly trial and error. So this is actually a good kind of display of what that looks like. So that's much more reasonable. I agree with that much more. So we are going to grab our magic wand and we're going to move it over where these other weapons are, just so we have a nice little reference point. So because I've ported in so many different weapons, I have a good idea of what they're supposed to be scaled like. As you can see, I have all these weapons next to each other. These are weapons that are on the smaller side, daggers and short swords. So if you have a smaller weapon, eventually as you port in more and more models, you'll just kind of figure out how big they're supposed to be. But it's good to have models kind of floating around just to get a baseline of how big they'll be. Because I know how big that these models here would be in the game, so I can use them as a reference point when scaling other models. But for now, we're going to rotate this magic wand until it is facing the camera. And it's not tilted or anything, which is good. So now what we're going to do is we are going to click on animation. We're not going to import the animations. Going to click on materials. We're going to hit extract materials. Select that folder. So that should have created an empty materials thing here. So let's see what we're working with. Should have gone somewhere. There it is. So we're going to go up here where it says shader, and we're going to hit this, click on madness, then click on items weapon, and that is going to make it all nice and cell shaded. Now if you are a 3D modeler and you have created your own weapon model, note that in Project Nexus, the game provides its own toon lines, which are these thick, dark lines that go around the weapon in order to make it fit in the madness style. So what that means is if you are creating a weapon, what's it called? You'll need to smooth out the weapon in Blender. I believe it's just a button press, just a little toggle. Oh, hey, Metal Gear Solid 5 installed. That's good. But anyway, I believe it's a toggle in Blender to just smooth out the weapon. That will ensure that these toon lines do not appear broken. At least with this weapon, they probably will appear broken. I personally don't care about that. You might. So that is how you avoid these broken toon lines. Make sure you smooth out the weapon in Blender. But anyway, now what we need to do is grab our texture. So in my case, the texture is just this PNG here. So we'll just pop it in and then look for it. There it is, very easy to find. We'll pop it right up in there, and now our weapon is textured. Look at that. Professor Egad's face is right there for you. So now the next thing to do on our list is we are going to go up here with this little tiny, very easy to miss button that's called create. We click on that and we hit create empty. This is going to create a game object. This is going to make it much easier to put the grab points on our weapon, and I'll explain what those are momentarily. But for now, we are going to rename this as M_magic wand. The M just stands for melee. It's just a way to internally differentiate a weapon of a different type. So if this was a gun, it would be R_magic wand for ranged instead of melee. But because this is a melee weapon, that's what we'll be calling it. So now what we're going to do is we are going to hit add component on our new game object, and we are going to hit mad_object_melee. So now you can see that there is a box. We are going to move that box over here to the center of our weapon and make sure that the perspective is not tricking you by rotating the camera. And if you're wondering how I'm rotating, I'm just holding down right click and moving my mouse. Very simple. But you want to make sure that this box is more or less centered to your weapon. What this is going to do is that when the weapon is holstered in game, when the character puts the weapon on their back, it will appear centered on their back and it won't be floating around in space. So that's looking pretty good. That's looking pretty centered. And I do believe if you want the weapon to appear on their hip, if you put it all the way down here, I think that will actually happen. But in our case, we want it to be on the back, so we're going to put it in the middle of the weapon. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go up here to where it says Mad Object Melee in parentheses script. We're going to right click that and hit Create Points. And now what we're going to do is we're going to grab that magic wand and we're going to drag and drop it into here. So now this magic wand is parented with this game object. So now what we're going to do is specify the grip points. This is very important. Do not skip this step. This is where you will specify where the weapon will be held by the character in the game. So grip main, this is going to be the main grip, where the character's dominant hand, in this case their right hand, will be holding the weapon. So say I want them to hold it right there up on the star. That's where I would put the grip main. Say I want them to hold it on the handle, which is the more reasonable place. We'll put it down here. And the offhand grip, this is where their left hand is going to go. So say a character cannot hold this with one hand, they'll hold it with both. So this is where their second hand is going to go. So in our case, that seems like a pretty decent point. Make sure they're actually on the weapon and not floating out in the void. So now we specify the point. What this does, this is going to specify where the damage actually comes from. So in our case, this is going to be a blunt melee weapon. I'm not actually going to make this into a magic wand. It's just going to be a crappy little blunt melee weapon that you can smack enemies with. So we will go all the way up to the tip of this star here. And that's going to be where our point is. That's going to be where the damage comes from. You can see with these other more, I guess, realistic melee weapons, I've already, specified the points where the very tip of the blade is. These are all bladed weapons, so you can see that the damage is being dealt from the top of the blade. That is where you want it. So, now that we have done all of that, we're going to scroll down all the way over here in the bottom left until we see a folder called Prefabs. We're going to click on it. We are going to grab this. We're going to drag and drop it into Prefabs. And now what we are going to do is, you can see down here, it says Asset Bundle. We're going to click on that one and say New. And it won't let me type immediately. I don't know why. But to fix that, I just click off of it, click on it again, do the same thing, and now I can type in Magic Wand. So, now we enter the final step of the porting process. We go to up here where it says Madness, all the way up to the top left. We click on that, mouse over Asset Bundle, and we hit the Build button. So in my case, it's going to rebuild all these assets that I currently have, which is a lot. So it's going to take anywhere from 30 seconds to a minute here, so we're going to have to wait a little bit. But as you can see, it is compiling all these asset bundles. But for you, if this is your first melee weapon, it should only take a couple of seconds for this process to begin and end. But because I have so many of them, it takes a little bit longer for me, but I don't mind that personally. So now that that's finished, it's going to automatically open up your File Explorer. There it is, you can see it's orange in the bottom, into a folder called Mad Objects. So as you can see, I have a ton of different weapons here. But in our case, we are looking for the Magic Wand. So let's keep that highlighted while we go over here. So this is where I had my my weapon stored, but we no longer need this folder. We want to locate in App Data Local Low a folder called Giving Tree. Now I have this pinned up on my quick access, so it's very easy for me to find. But if you do not know how to find this, you can press the Windows key and type in App Data. Or perhaps it's in the Run command. Yes, you can then type in App Data into Run, and it will automatically open a folder. Then you can find Local Low, and then you will simply search for Giving Tree, and then you will end up in the same spot. I highly recommend putting that Giving Tree folder on your file system's quick access because it will make it much easier to locate it. Now, what we will do is we will open Madness Project Nexus. Go into mods. So as you can see here, I have many mods, but we're going to make a new folder here, and we're just going to call it Magic Wand. And now, this will need an info text file and a mad card. So we're going to go into one of our mods and just grab the info and a mad card. Now what we're going to do is we're going to paste that into here and grab that magic wand and paste it into here as well. Now what we're going to do is open that info.txt file, and here we have some basic script here. So we're going to specify the name. That's going to be Magic Wand. And the description, this is a test weapon for tutorial purposes. There, the author's name, you can put anything in here. You could name it, I don't know, Fart. But for in our case, we'll just name it Z Pumpkinita, which is me. And here we have tags. In this case, it'll be weapons and other games, but you can make these tags literally anything. It doesn't matter. Well, it matters if you want people to easily find your mod, but in my case, it's a weapon and it's from another game, so I have weapons and other games. So we're going to save that and then close it. We no longer need that. Now we have the mad card. So this mad card is completely unrelated to this magic wand, but we are going to change stuff around and make it relevant. So type melee, we're not going to change that. The root, so this is basically the weapon that your weapon will function similarly to. So if I change this to I don't know, bat, it will basically be the same as the baseball bat. It'll have the same weight. It won't have the same damage or properties. We're going to set that here. But it'll have the same weight and it'll have the same sound. So when I hit somebody with it in the game, it'll make that baseball bat, donk sound effect. So we're just going to name it m_bat. Now the file name, in our case, is going to be m_magic wand. So we're going to copy that and then put it over here in object ref. You need to make sure that file name and object ref are the same as the prefab name that you put into here in this Unity project. If it's not the same, it's not going to work, and well, that's not very good, is it? And we're going to name it Magic Wand. Description: it's just a plastic magic wand. Why you would want to use this as a weapon, I have no idea. So the tier, so in arena mode, the tier decides where the weapon actually appears. So 8 is going to be right after the 3rd contract mission, so in the end game. Tier 4 is going to be after the 2nd contract mission, and Tier 1 is going to be after the 1st contract mission. And Tier 0, this would be unlocked by default. So I guess we'll just make it Tier 0, or rather Tier 1. So melee damage, we're going to make it 1, because it's just a plastic wand. Why would you want to use it as a weapon? Melee defense, 1. Armor piercing, 0. So melee ammo, this is the durability. We're going to make the durability 50, which is garbage in the game. Because, again, it's just a crappy magic wand. It's not any good. But this is where you would set your stats in the game. Make them whatever you want. If you want the damage to be 9999, you could absolutely do that. You can literally do anything here. But just keep that in mind. That is what these stats do. We're not going to touch anything else because they do not matter. We're going to hit File, we're going to hit Save. We're going to close that, and we're going to go back to our file system. We are going to rename that to just Magic Wand. And now we are ready to finally open the game and see if our mod is working. So let's open up Project Nexus. It always feels so much longer when you're doing a tutorial. Let's skip past all of the intro stuff. Just spamming the enter key. Now, what we are going to do, we're going to click on this little gear icon here. I'm going to disable the music, just temporarily. We're going to click on that, and we're going to scroll down until we see our magic wand. And we're going to hit enable, and we're going to hit apply. Now, we are going to go to the playground and see if our weapon is working. So let's become a character. Say Demos. Let's become Demos. There we go. We are now Demos. And now what we are going to do is we are going to go to Melee. Scroll all the way down and you can see all of these yellow names. Any names in yellow are one of your modded weapons. So in our case, the magic wand. Let's spawn it, and there we go. It is working in the game. Excellent. We did everything correctly. Let's make sure the HUD is enabled. So as you can see up here, it's called bat because it's using the baseball bat as a root weapon. And this is just a crappy plastic magic wand. Let's see if we can even kill a grunt with it. It only does 1 damage. Let's hit him. Yeah. It takes 3 hits to kill a grunt with this, and I've already taken almost 10% off the durability, but that, my friends, is how you port in a melee weapon into Project Nexus. That's pretty much all there is. If you have any questions, concerns, or are just curious, don't be afraid to leave a comment down below, and I will answer them to the best of my ability. I will also try to make similar tutorial videos where I will show you how to port in custom armors or custom guns, which I'm sure most of you would be much more excited about than melee weapons. But that is going to do it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I will see you in the next video. Peace out.